The story in the Bible is that he was killed on the cross, murdered on the cross, and then he was put into a tomb. And then who saw him come out of the tomb?
So nobody physically sees him come out of the tomb, but the women go to the tomb in the morning and on the third day, and the tomb is empty. And so there are 4 accounts, right? And I think it's interesting also that we have 4 accounts that kind of give different angles on the stories. It's not as if they got together and they corroborated and all gave the same story. The fact is that we have 4 accounts that kind of capitalize on different angles, which the differentiation in detail, I think, actually gives credibility to the reliability of it. Because if they were all telling the same thing, you could argue that they got together and they colluded. They don't do that. In fact, they touch on different aspects of the story.
Are these people saying that they saw him walk out? Are they saying that they just saw it empty? What is the claims being made about his resurrection from these witnesses?
Yeah, so the tomb is empty.
The tomb is empty.
And so it's interesting, in one of the accounts, Mary's at the tomb, and she actually talks to Jesus, but she confuses him with a gardener. Now, I think it's interesting that she doesn't confuse the gardener with Jesus. She confuses Jesus with the gardener. Like, she thinks that this person she's talking to isn't Jesus. She doesn't recognize him at first. And she asks him, what happened? Why is the tomb opened? Where did the body go? And then there's also an account of an angel appearing and saying, why are you looking for the living among the dead? He's not here. He's risen. And then they go back to the disciples who are, hiding in this upper room. Mary says, I met Jesus. The tomb's empty. I've met Jesus. Jesus is not in the tomb. He's risen. And some of them don't even believe her. They think she's crazy. Now, we don't have like an eyewitness account of the tomb being open. And this is actually an embarrassing fact in the ancient world. So some of those other gospels that I mentioned earlier that are written later on, Gospel of Thomas, Judas, Mary, Peter, there's one of them, the Gospel of Peter, which is actually trying to remedy this fact that women are the first eyewitnesses to the empty tomb, which is an embarrassing fact in the ancient world. If that's not true, if they made it up, it seems very unlikely that they would have done that, because women are not considered good eyewitnesses in either Greco-Roman or, unfortunately, Jewish society in this time period. So the Gospel of Peter tries to remedy the situation by having all of the right people in the right place at the right time. It has the Jewish and the Roman officials camping out in front of the tomb when it actually happens, and then has this recounted the story of literally the stone moving, Jesus coming out, all these things. Now, we know it's not historically reliable. We know that because of when it was written. We also know that on the eve of Passover, the priests would not be camping out in front of a dead body. It's just historically anachronistic. But it is an account of a literary source later on that is embarrassed by what we find in here about the biographical information of the empty tomb.
So is it just 2 women that said they met Jesus in some form after his death, Mary being one of them, which was his mother?
No.
Who's Mary?
Mary, so there are a number of Marys in the New Testament. This was Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
Yeah, who was like a close associate.
Okay, like a friend.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so a friend, and then is it just her that says she saw him in...
There was a group of them.
A group of them?
Yeah, of the women.
Okay, and they were separate when they saw him. They were on their own.
They were together. So one of the gospel only mentions Mary. I believe it's the Gospel of John. But, like I said before, it implies that there are more because she says, we don't know where they put the body.
Okay.
So, though that account only has her recounting, it implies that there are others. And then the other gospels have more women that are going to the tomb.
As a percentage, what degree of certainty do you have that he was resurrected and that he was who he said he was? Because I agree with you that this character clearly existed, like Jesus clearly existed. I personally believe that he was killed, probably on a cross. But then you get to this point of resurrection, which you have to then believe in something supernatural.
Yeah.
So what's the probability you'd assign to it?
Like
if it was like likely, unlikely, very likely.
They're all likely, because I think that what the gospel authors are doing is communicating truth. And I don't ultimately see an overabundance of reason why they would write what they wrote, other than actually recounting a story of what took place.